Right now, the country is undergoing massive nationwide protests against racism, racial inequality, and police brutality. At the same time these protests are occurring, the NBA is attempting to restart its season. Given the USA's current situation with regards to the fight against racial inequality, I believe that the NBA should put a policy in place that allows its players and coaches the option to speak out or demonstrate against any issue that they deem fit without having the possibility of the NBA punishing them for their actions. Throughout this speech, I will cover why the NBA needs this policy and what the NBA's players and coaches think about the NBA's return, why my policy is the best thing that helps solve the NBA's problems and what my policy is, as well as how the policy that I put in place will affect the NBA and the country as well. Given the NBA's return being imminent, the players and coaches have to judge for themselves whether returning to the NBA is truly the right thing to do. The NBA returning has put the players and coaches into a predicament as whether returning to the NBA is the most important thing or if they need to sit out and help push for social change. This is an issue that the NBA's players are incredibly divided upon. Some players, like that of Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving, believe that the NBA's return is simply a distraction. As reported by The Athletic's senior NBA insider Shams Khandria, Kyrie Irving reportedly led a phone call of around 80 NBA players in which he made his views abundantly clear. He viewed the NBA's return as a distraction and that the players should sit out if need be in order to keep the issues center stage and help push for more social change. As reported by ESPN's NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski, Kyrie Irving and fellow NBA guard Avery Bradley believe that when they speak out upon these issues to the league and the world, they are doing so for those players who feared the league's backlash and punishment from the league for speaking out about these issues. Some players, like that of Los Angeles Lakers center Dwight Howard, don't agree with Kyrie Irving's perspective on the NBA's return. As reported by The Score's NBA writer John Weinstein, Dwight Howard said, quote, he has a contractual obligation to his team and teammates, but he also has an obligation to his family and to his community. He believes that returning to the NBA will actually be a benefit to the social changes that the players are trying to push for if the NBA allows them to keep speaking up about these issues. While the NBA's coaches are indeed ready for the NBA to return, many of them believe that the NBA should take a stand in the fight against racial inequality. One such coach is that of 11-year head coach of the Miami Heat, Erik Spoelstra. As reported by the Associated Press's Tim Reynolds, Erik Spoelstra believes that the league needs to land on the issue of racial inequality together. The issues need to take center stage if the NBA returns, and that these issues should not disappear with the return of basketball. Echoing his sentiments is that of Charlotte Hornets head coach Steve Clifford. He also told the Associated Press's Tim Reynolds that the NBA's return will provide a platform, and I think we are all excited to use it. While the NBA's players and coaches may be ready for the NBA to return, many of them are hesitant to return, as they believe returning to the NBA will hamper their ability to speak out upon these issues. They believe this because the league has had a history of dealing with those players and those who speak out while on the NBA's floor. One such example of this is that of Mohamed Abdul-Rauf. As reported by the Undefeated's senior staff writer, Jesse Washington, Mohamed Abdul-Rauf was a point guard for the Denver Nuggets during the 1995-1996 season. During this season, he refused to stand for the national anthem, opting to either sit down during the national anthem or not even come out of the locker room at all. He later told reporters that he would not stand for the American flag and national anthem because he believed they stood for oppression and racism, and his morals would simply not allow him to stand for that. Abdul-Rauf was, the following season, he was traded from his team, quickly cut by the team he was traded to, and he never played another NBA minute ever again. This example is one that the players and coaches feel fuels their fear for speaking out upon these issues while on the NBA's floor. They believe that clearly the NBA doesn't want them to speak out while playing. However, the NBA has done a much better job as of late supporting those who do speak out. In the later years, they have done a lot. One such example, as reported by Los Angeles Times staff writer Dan Weoke, Commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, has allowed the NBA's players to put social phrases such as vote and enough is enough on the back of their jerseys during the NBA's restart as opposed to their names. While the NBA has done a great job as of late supporting players who speak out and allowing players to speak on a variety of issues, I believe that given the current situation of the United States, it's time for them to take it a step further. They need to institute a policy that allows anyone in the league to speak freely on any issue without the fear of punishment. That's where my policy comes into play. It supports the players and coaches and those who want to speak out, who want to do so and allows them to do it without punishment, and it actually helps the league return quicker. My policy will allow players to speak freely when off the floor of the NBA without fear of punishment. My policy is called the Abdul Rauf policy. It is appropriately named after the man who we just discussed, who gave up his entire career to speak on social issues. The wording of my policy is as follows for off the floor protesting. The Abdul Rauf policy states that the league cannot punish, fine, or suspend any player or coach or someone associated with the league who speaks or demonstrates in any way they choose off the floor of the NBA. You may demonstrate or you may speak out about any issue in any way that you choose. However, speaking out and demonstrating cannot be violating either the laws of the country or the league's previous rules. Meaning that if you were to go out and start beating up people, that would be against both the law and the league's rules, so therefore that's not allowed. However, what if you want to protest while on the floor of the NBA, just like Abdul Rauf did? You would need to phone it to the league and get their approval. So for instance, if you were an NBA player and you had the idea to wear Black Lives Matter on your jersey, the way you would do it is you would contact the league and set up a meeting. If it is appropriate for television and television audiences, you're allowed to do that and protest in that way or to speak out in that way without fear of the NBA hitting you with some backlash or punishment. However, if it's not appropriate, the league and the player will work together in order to make it appropriate, so that way they can wear it on the floor. If no compromise is then reached, you can't wear it on the floor because it would violate some television laws and therefore would not be allowed, but you can then do it off the floor because the off the floor policy will allow you to do anything you choose without facing punishment. Now that we've talked about what my policy is and the specifics of my policy, let's talk about how my policy can help the NBA and in fact help the country as well. With the addition of the Abdul Rauf policy into the NBA, the league would find that the issues that the players and coaches have with the NBA's return disappearing, and in fact the league would become a beacon for social change. The policy means that players can continue to speak out and coaches can continue to speak out about these issues without fear of punishment, therefore they would continue to do so. There's no doubts about the NBA's return now because the players and coaches' main issue with the return was that they feared that they couldn't continue to speak out and then they couldn't affect social change. However, they can do so now because the policy allows them to do so. This means that the issues, however, remain center stage, not the basketball. Again, the issue that Kyrie Irving had, that the issues need to remain center stage, and Eric Spoelstra's quotes that the issues need to remain center stage are answered. They do remain center stage because the NBA will be watched by its fans, and therefore they can talk about these issues. With no doubts, the NBA can then restart quicker, meaning everyone is happy. The players and coaches get to return and use this platform for change. The league owners and officials get their league and business up and running, and the fans get the NBA back. Not only this, but the Abdul Rauf policy means the NBA will become a major influencer in social change. It will help push messages across like Black Lives Matter and the fight against police brutality, as well as it will increase the popularity of the league, as people will gravitate towards the league as it will be seen as a hub for free speech and equality. The Abdul Rauf policy that I have just created will allow the NBA's issues to disappear, meaning the NBA will restart quicker and players and coaches will be allowed to speak out on the issues that they deem fit and help affect social change. It will also increase the interest in the NBA as it will be seen as a hub for free speech and equality. Given the USA's current situation with regards to these protests against racial inequality, I believe that the NBA should implement my policy in order to allow players and coaches to speak freely and demonstrate against issues that they deem fit without fear of punishment from the league for their actions. The Abdul Rauf policy benefits everyone involved in the NBA. The players and coaches get their platform to speak on, the NBA gets to restart so that way the owners get their business back and fans get the NBA back. Not only this, but the policy will allow the NBA to become a beacon, a true beacon of social change. It will show the country that big names aren't afraid to speak out about big issues and will affect issues and maybe will affect the country as a whole if the NBA implements this policy. Thank you.